Hello beautiful souls, I have just finished a chat with my Tantra practitioner trainees about the body blueprint, which is essentially the links between science and spirit and sexuality. Tantra often cops a lot in the way of it's all about energetic sex and it's all about orgasm, and whilst it does factor these things in, there's so much to it, and it really helps to understand the tangible. It helps to understand what's happening within our actual body, our anatomy, our physiology over that time that we are in practice. The idea behind Tantra ultimately is to find divine bliss, to find an awakening of your connection and of your actual essence of the divine within yourself. At any given moment, at any time, that you are connected to the greater field that we all are, actually. That is life, that is your body, that is my body, everything. So tonight, as a part of the body blueprint, we broke down the nervous system and the branches of it, starting with the central nervous system, basically our central hub for communication, right in the center here, and along the central energy channel of the spine and the spinal nerves, and how that sends out to the peripheral nervous system information, whatever it needs, to the organs, to the outermost reaches of the skin. Then the peripheral nervous system also pulls information from the outside world and takes it in and gathers what it needs to of that information, and then the central nervous system processes that. Super cool when we think of this in terms of spanda, which is a tantric philosophical concept of this cosmic pulsation of the goddess herself. It's a direct symbolic representation, this notion that we have this essential pulsation of information from the inside to the outside and the outside to the inside. And so spanda is represented in many different things and forms of life, and is speaking into the greater field of which we are all a part. Tantra speaks much more broadly than that we're having energetic orgasms and wild, crazy sex that moves through our whole body. The notion is that you really want to understand how you're connecting with your body, how you're showing up in daily life, to be able to navigate when you can find these sweet, blissful moments, embracing the oneness of yourself amidst the greater cosmic field that exists around you, and that ultimately you are not separate. So you can imagine in the relationship dynamic of a romance that what we're striving for is this deeper sense of being able to connect with one another, to transcend our own blocks and our own ego and how we identify and all the me, this, that, I'm not this, I'm not that. We actually have to move past that and essentially become this expression of this pulsation together and build something like that. So this relates directly to the nervous system in that beautiful way of even sending information from the outside in and inside out. Then we also break down these other reactive things and these signals that fire off, which is ultimately super empowering for us if we know how the nervous system works when we're in context of intimacy and life in general. So sympathetic nervous system arousal is when we're in fight, flight, fawn mode, and often this is most dominant throughout our waking life because we're always in this action mode, trying to do, trying to make things happen, trying to sort, trying to plan. And it can mimic basically survival tendencies, like trying to actually show up and be strong and like figure out what we need to do, whether it's to fight, whether it's to fly, whether it's to please and fit in. There's so many things that are just ping-ponging around in the nervous system, and this is all sympathetic arousal. So this is what is linked to your muscles, it's what's linked to your eyes, and essentially is getting us into action mode. For a tantric connection, we want parasympathetic activation, which is where we start to drop into rest and digest. It's an ease, it's a flow, it's a surrender. Now, freeze can happen through the parasympathetic when there's so much information going on that it's actually like, well, the best thing to do is freeze. So the dorsal vagal nerve actually starts to engage and then creates a shutdown, which is ultimately what the body deems to be the safest thing to do in that time because there's just too many things stimulating the body. So this can also be not a literal freeze where you're catatonic, though it's definitely that's a perfect example of somebody being in catatonia. But it's also where you could be in a conversation and you actually just stifled in a moment, not quite knowing what to say when somebody says something to you and is confronting, and there's a lot of signals going off in you, a lot of mixed thoughts and feelings. You don't know how to navigate, so your body just goes shut down. And then you could only really think about things retrospectively because you couldn't think about things in the moment. It can be really frustrating, and this is often a response that is like occurring in intimacy with another. There's also the enteric nervous system, which is the gut brain essentially, and that is largely influenced by the microbiome too, because there's a lot of little critters that live in our gut, and interestingly they actually secrete neurotransmitters that get taken in by the enteric nervous system neurons, and they get then taken through the vagus nerve, right through our body into the central nervous system, sending signals to our brains. So our gut does actually influence how we think, and so the balance of what's in our gut also perpetuates certain states of being and ways of thinking, which could lead to anxiety, depression, and so on. So having an understanding of how our whole body works is such a powerful and empowering thing that can actually bring us back to a sovereign way of doing life. It's not easy, life at the best of times, with all the challenges that go on. And there's so much stimulation most of the time, throughout most of the day, so many signals going on that we're in overwhelm. A lot. So having tools that support us to slow down, tune in, connect, breathe, feel into this vessel, and allow ourselves to just acquaint with it, to really anchor into it, and to pay attention, supports general health, the whole body, in moving through whatever it needs to move through so that you can actually restore equilibrium. And then let's bring it back to intimacy. Be in a space where you can be gently empowered and in flow with your sensual intimacy and the way that you're showing up, so that you can show up authentically, so that we can find these beautiful exchanges that actually really support us to feel anchored. At the very least, what I love to impart to my clients and anybody learning about Tantra is finding the safe haven, is finding the anchoring, is finding the point of practice where you come back to the practice of learning to feel into your own body. In the presence of another, sure, if you trust them, if you feel they can guide you through the practice. But firstly, it's about coming back home to self. And from that place, being anchored in your own body, then connecting with the other and having the dance between the two of you, where you're creating something really beautiful and in flow and in passion together. But this cannot happen if you are looking to the other to create so much safety for you, and you're trying to pull something from the outside world into yourself. You gather information from your nervous system, from the outside world, and how you synthesize that information is ultimately what creates your outcomes in how you show up in life. There is also that with this, let's bring Spanda back into it, this notion of this pulsation, that you must be a part of that pulsation, that it is not to take that energy in and then hold it within yourself. It is to allow also the expression outwards of that energy. And there must be this flow, this expansion, contraction, allowing the flow, the expansion and the contraction, the giving and the taking, the exploring with a spirit of curiosity. As you may well have experienced, there's a lot of people who find themselves in intimacy where there's a lot of mixed signals going on, and it's very jarring and really hard to navigate that space. Really hard to actually find our sense of ground within that. But within a healthy and strong tantric practice, we really start to get a notion of what the ground is, which is understanding with somatic awareness what's happening in our body, that helps us, gives us clues to what truth is being experienced, like how something's showing up for us, how we're really feeling in a situation, what kind of things it's doing to us being around a certain someone, what is our instinct saying, what are our thoughts and feelings saying, in a sense of signals. So tonight was a really beautiful discussion, and I get super passionate about this topic because I've been investing in understanding a lot more about the science behind the practice and just how powerful it is to know what's going down, what's going on, what's going in, what's going out. Everything from the brain waves to the microbiome to the various branches of our nervous system to the different neurotransmitters being secreted and hormones flowing through, all the things. So good to know. So if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. We are in this topic this week, and yeah, it's really wonderful to be bringing my students through it and obviously sharing a bit with you as well. So yeah, let me know what you're thinking. So yeah, let me know what your thoughts are.